Alright, so this, ladies and gentlemen, is my attempt at a screencast. I'm here to talk to you about the Witchcraft Acts. Let's get started, shall we? During the Dark Ages there was a lot of controversy regarding witchcraft and sorcery. Due to this, laws were enacted spanning 1542 to 1824 to prevent and punish the use of it. Not all of these laws are regarding the practice of witchcraft, but rather fortune-telling and palm reading. They're still being used as charlatans keep popping up. The Witchcraft Act of 1542. The first law passed in 1542 by Henry VIII was the first to condemn witchcraft as a felony and made it punishable by death. This, however, was repealed 5 years later, but was reinstated in 1562. The Witchcraft Act of 1563. The next act to come was passed under the early rule of Elizabeth I and was surprisingly merciful. The death penalty was only passed upon those who used magic to harm others. Lesser crimes against this legislation were only punished with imprisonment. The act stated that those who used, practiced, and exercised any witchcraft, enchantment, charm, or sorcery which caused others harm, or a certain case of the old eternal sleep, got the death penalty. The Scottish Witchcraft Act of 1563. Thanks to this little beauty, it was now illegal to practice the art of the occult, and any consulting of practitioners of the art was deemed a felony. This act stayed on Scottish statute books until its repeal in 1735. Oh, come on. There we go. The Witchcraft Act of 1604. The year after James' accession to the throne, the Elizabethan Witchcraft Act was broadened to now give the death penalty to anyone who invoked bad spirits or communed with familiar ones. This statute was enforced by self-styled Fitchfinder General Matthew Hawkins. Now that is a title. Supporters of this act included, but was not limited to, the Earl of Northumberland, the Bishop of Lincoln, and the Lord Chief Baron of the Exchequer. Sorry if I botched that. James's and Elizabeth's acts changed the witchcraft laws by making it a crime, thus removing the accused from jurisdiction of the ecclesiastical court, any of certain courts having jurisdiction mainly in spiritual or religious matters, and bringing them under the court of common law. Due to this, those accused of witchcraft actually enjoyed some benefits, such as being able to enjoy a normal criminal procedure. Burning at the stake was right out, except in cases with the witchcraft that also were petty treason. Most convicted were hanged instead. Any witch that had committed a petty witchcraft offence that was accused and found guilty a second time was put to death. The Scottish Witchcraft Act of 1649. Through the 1640s, the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland and the Commission of the Kirk lobbied for the enforcement and extension of the Witchcraft Act 1563, which had been the basis of previous witch trials. The Covenanter, a Scottish Presbyterian movement regime, passed a series of acts to enforce godliness in 1649, which made capital offences of blasphemy, the worship of false gods, and for beaters and curses of their parents. They also passed a new Witchcraft Act that ratified the existing Act of 1563 and extended it to deal with consulters of devils and familiar spirits, who would now be punished with death. The Witchcraft Act of 1735. The Witchcraft Act of 1735 marked a complete reversal in attitudes. Penalties for the practice of witchcraft as originally constituted, which was thought to be an impossibility by many at the time, were replaced by penalties for the pretense of witchcraft. A person who claimed to have the power to call up spirits, or foretell the future, or cast spells, or discover the whereabouts of stolen goods, basically anything magic, was to be punished as a vagrant and a con artist, a professional bamboozler, subject to fines and imprisonment. The act applied to the whole of Great Britain, repealing both the 1563 Scottish Act and the 1604 English Act. The Witchcraft Act of 1735 remained in force in Britain well into the 20th century, until its the 21st century. What am I saying? No, wait, never mind. Screw that. The 20th century, until its eventual repeal with the enactment of the Fraudulent Mediums Act of 1951. The Fraudulent Mediums Act of 1951 was repealed on 26th of May 2008 by new consumer protection regulations following an EU directive targeting unfair sales and marketing practices. And my sources have been Wikipedia on Witchcraft Act, surprisingly useful, and the www.parliament.uk. Really good site. I recommend it. Anyway, that's it for me. Time to sign out.